And oh, okay. So we today is a Magnesium Masterclass for those of you that are hopping on. And I am setting up to go live on a couple of places at the same time. So we are going to talk about gallbladder and magnesium and cell saturation. And class will start just as soon as I get logged in to one more social media site. And then done. Okay, so I think we can pull this off. Class is going to start in just a second for those of you that are joining me either on YouTube or Facebook. And then we're going to have a live happening over here also. So we are getting ready for a Magnesium Masterclass. So I really pushed myself today, and I am streaming on several platforms, which means I've got numerous devices in front of me with lots of different mics for each of the devices. So I need some feedback if I have set it up correctly. And so if you're on Facebook or YouTube, if you would let me know that you've got audio and that you can hear me, if you would leave a comment on that. And then for those that are on TikTok, I'm hoping that we are good on TikTok, because today we are going to be talking about magnesium, upgrading our magnesium status, and the role it plays in gallbladder functions. And of course, bring your questions on and we can talk about other facets. But I think bile and gallbladder is really underrated and not utilized enough. But before I get into the class, I want to make sure oh my gosh. Okay. Nicole, thank you so very much. Oh, and Veronica, you're on YouTube. Okay. So our streaming section is good right here. So glad that you're here. And it looks like the audio is good over on TikTok. Okay. So my name's Kristen. I'm a magnesium advocate. I'm passionate about magnesium and upgrading magnesium status. And Wednesday at Pacific noon, we gather to talk about all things magnesium and cell saturation. But before we get started, I want to be very clear and very specific for wherever you are joining me, that I am not a doctor. I am not diagnosing. I am not prescribing. I am sharing with you, after my health crash 20 years ago, the things that I did to put my health back together, to wake up in the morning with energy and feeling good and not in a wheelchair, not having seizures, not with feeding tubes and things being tubed in and things being tubed out. And so we need to keep that really clear, because I don't know where you're coming from and what your situation is. And I have a philosophy that healthy, I say women because I work with women, but this applies to everyone, that when you're healthy, you have a strong filter, because we are bombarded with so much information, which is a beautiful thing. It also is walking us away from our health, because we have so much information, we can get analysis paralysis. And even if you're on this class today, and hopefully my goal is that you get some great insights and, oh my gosh, I didn't think of that. I am like, that's a good fit for me. No health was created until you take action. And I think with the abundance of health information that we have, it's really easy for us to feel like we have we're doing all these things, but in actuality, we've become really good health researchers. And healthy women take action. They absolutely take action. And the other thing before we get started on our Magnesium Masterclass on upgrading your magnesium status and the role magnesium plays in gallbladder and bile function, because bile is everything. And I think it's the unsung hero of your body. Before we get started on that, I need to shout out a huge thank you to Team Good Life, because this was a big learning curve to have the right equipment, the right stands, the right lights, the right mic set up, the right everything. So team was so good in helping me, and they're on right now moderating comments, because sometimes people leave some comments that are not the type of comments that I want anybody else reading. We want this to be really uplifting and friendly, that kids could read and everything would be good. So magnesium status. My goal with magnesium is very single focused. I do not take oral synthetic magnesium. So for example, when you take oral synthetic vitamin D, it's an antagonist to vitamin A, and vitamin A is so important in liver function. Now, I'm not saying I'm against taking vitamin D. I just want to do plan A first, and that's getting my vitamin D from the sun. And we know that when vitamin D levels drop, that you had to tank in magnesium levels first, because magnesium activates stored vitamin D to convert to active vitamin D to give us that strong foundation, right? And each person needs to make their own decision as to whether or not they're supplementing with D, whether they have access to sunshine, where their magnesium levels are at. When you take magnesium orally, it gets very few people to cell saturation, because the majority of people are walking around deficient in magnesium. And the problem with that is, when we're deficient in magnesium, we become calcium dominant. And when we become calcium dominant, the gallbladder starts to have issues. When the gallbladder gets calcified, it doesn't open and close as effectively. And so then you get bilirubin and bile sitting in that gallbladder. They get thicker. If you've got some excess cholesterol and you're magnesium deficient, you have the story for gallstones. And so, does achieving cell saturation fix all gallbladder issues? Heck no, absolutely not. It doesn't. But it does walk you away from calcium dominance, which is a foundational reason as to why gallstones were happening in the first place. Now, please remember, I'm not a doctor, I'm not diagnosing. I'm sharing with you the things that I learned, that I put together to recover. So when we take magnesium orally, we get benefit, right? Raise your hand if you've ever experienced benefit from magnesium. I want more than just benefit from magnesium, and I don't want to have to, I guess you could call me lazy when it comes to creating health, because I don't want to have to keep track of this type of magnesium for this issue and this type of magnesium for this issue, and I'm taking this type of magnesium for my brain, and I don't want to keep track of that. My goal is cell saturation, where around the red blood cells, there's enough magnesium for my body to do what it's set up to do. That's my goal with magnesium. So that being said, let's talk about the study that, well, not everybody, that's an overstatement, that many people will say, oh, soaking in magnesium doesn't work, because there is a study that talks about it. Let me tell you the problem with that study. So there are different ways to test magnesium. A few of those are serum, your blood serum. Another way is red blood cell. Another way is urine. So when they ran that study on whether magnesium was soaking in magnesium was able to make a difference in your health through transdermal, just going through your skin penetration, they tested the serum instead of the red blood cell. When you test the serum, magnesium is so important for your body to stay at 1% saturation level in your blood serum, that it will pull from your pancreas, your heart, your bones, your gallbladder. It will pull from everywhere to keep your blood serum at 1%. And so your bones can be overly calcified because of lack of magnesium, but your serum is still at 1% because it's so important for you to stay alive, and your body knows that, and so it pulls to keep that at 1%. And so I had a lady today that said, oh my gosh, transdermal magnesium, there's a study that shows. Well, they tested the serum. They need to test the red blood cell numbers. Most doctors, every once in a while, you'll find one that thinks outside of the box, and they have access or can point you in the direction of red blood cell. For 20 years, my goal has been to communicate in a way that I can build that bridge with Western medicine so that they understand there's more than just serum to look at. And it's been fabulous to watch that relationship build with as many as I've been able to, but I'm just one person. And so there's so many that just don't understand the difference between red blood cell and serum. And so we're taking that test and putting it aside because I know that my body is going to keep my serum at 1%. I want to know, how much magnesium does my heart have? How much magnesium does my thyroid have? How much magnesium do my bones have? Because I don't want brittle bones. How much magnesium do my adrenals and my thyroid have? Those are the kinds of things that I want to know. And so oral synthetic magnesium, we can't take enough orally. We can take enough to make a difference, but I want more than just a difference. I want optimal health. And so when you take it orally, you're making a dent, but you're not achieving cell saturation. And that's what I want. I want enough magnesium in my body that my body can just intuitively do what it was hardwired to do, and that is give magnesium to all the places that it's needed. So that's why I switched from just taking so many milligrams of magnesium to achieving cell saturation, which is 6.3 or above. Now, years ago, nobody was hitting, not nobody, very few were hitting 6.3 or above. And so they dropped the standard. Well, let me tell you this. Just because a bunch of people are not at optimal health doesn't mean I'm dropping my standard. So I go by the old standard, 6.3. 6.3 is the old standard. I'm not dropping my standard because a bunch of people are not at cell saturation. So 6.3 or above is that ideal cell saturation that I'm shooting for. And that takes us to a whole nother place in that, how many milligrams do you need of magnesium? And here's my take on that. And I'd love to know what you think. Matt, yes. Nicole Johnson, yes. Magnesium that does not cause diarrhea, because when you soak in it, you bypass digestion. And so it doesn't cause the stomach upset. And because of that, you can take in more and achieve cell saturation. But here's where that recommended daily allowance, I think, is really out of date because, okay, this morning we woke up to no water running in our home. They're doing a citywide water thing, so no water in our home. I went to bed later than usual, and I woke up a little tired, which means my stress levels were a little bit higher because I had a 7 o'clock class, a Q&A class that I needed to teach with my Core 7 group. And Because of that, my magnesium burn rate went up. Now, if I go by the recommended daily allowance, I'm going to look at that and say, oh, the recommended daily allowance says that I need this much. But they don't know my stress levels. They don't know the things that I'm doing to regulate my nervous system, because a regulated nervous system, you become a magnesium magnet and you hold on to magnesium and you decalcify your body, specifically pineal. Because when pineal gets calcified, it changes even how you dream. It changes your ability to perceive things. That's how important magnesium is. Now, calcium's good, but not when you've got too much and you're overcalcified. And so that RDA is not taking into account your burn rate. So this morning, my stress levels were up. When stress levels go out, magnesium gets pushed out through your urine. And so to say, oh, I took this pill and I got my magnesium needs met, really? It like doesn't work like that. And if you're eating sugar, you're pushing out more of your magnesium. That RDA does not know how much sugar you're eating. If you're eating a lot of simple carbs, you're pushing out more magnesium. If you have a dysregulated nervous system, you're pushing out more magnesium. If you're on certain medications, you are pushing out more magnesium. So we need to take that responsibility back and determine what is our specific burn rate. How much magnesium do I need to achieve cell saturation? And that's why we have the magnesium soak. The magnesium soak, because we want our magnesium to be non-diluted. They do not have to tell you that they put more water in the magnesium because it's sea brine. And so they don't have to tell you that it's more diluted. They also need to be getting it from the cleanest source possible. I could get magnesium from Utah and it would be pennies compared to what I pay for this magnesium. It would be so much cheaper and so much less headache, but it's very high in heavy metals. And let's pull that and wrap that around now your bile function and your gallbladder. So your magnesium's low, your gallbladder is calcified, so it's not emptying as much. You maybe got dehydrated a little bit. Maybe you've got thyroid issues, which Hashimoto's and hypothyroid can decrease your bile function starting at 50% reduction in bile function. And we've got a problem. And we don't want heavy metals in our magnesium like what you can get from Utah. We don't want that. We want a clean source of magnesium. And so the bile is actually what cleans our body up from heavy metals. But if we're decalcified and low and we're adding more heavy metals because the company sourced it from the cheapest source, we're not getting the full benefit of a magnesium soak. And so 20 years ago, I'm the founder of Living the Good Life Naturally. And my promise to you is this magnesium that I'm talking about, my promise is I will always third-party test it. I will stay current with where the cleanest source is. It will never have water diluted in it, added to it. It will always be a sea brine because that has cofactors. It will not be manufactured in a lab. I could do that for pennies also, but that lab manufactured magnesium does not move red blood cell numbers. Once it's gone through that synthetic process and been more processed, it loses its ability. Kind of think like wheat bread to white bread. It's losing its nutrients and losing its ability to give you benefit. Magnesium that's manufactured in a lab is very, very cheap, but it's lost its ability to give you the benefit to, and remember that single goal I have of cell saturation. And oh my gosh, Karen, you just shared the live. I am so grateful to you for that. Karen, would you please reach out to me through private message? And if you live in the United States, I only ship in the United States, I would like to ship you a thank you gift. That is so kind of you to share this. And literally, you just made my dreams come true, because my goal is every single person in the United States understands the role that magnesium soak plays in magnesium cell saturation, and that they understand the process, they understand what to do, and then they can make the best decision for themselves. And you just helped me to live that goal. So if you'll reach out to me through, what's it called on TikTok? DM, I think it is. If you'll reach out, we can connect, and I would love to pop you in a thank you gift for that. Gifts are my love language. They're my total love language. Where can you see my live on castor oil? Okay, so Lexi is going to make sure that that gets uploaded. It was a little bit of a learning curve for me, but Lexi knew immediately. She's on Team Good Life, and she knew immediately what needed to happen. So she can actually upload the live that we did last week on castor oil. She can upload that on another platform. We can't upload it here, but it will be uploaded on my other platforms. And I believe that is scheduled to go up next week. It takes a little bit to get it rendered, and she does all this magic for it and makes it good. And so that will be uploaded. And Oh, Lexi just said it will be posted today. So check out those comments. I think I get dinged if I say where it's going to be posted. And so I'll let Lexi, she just commented on where it's going to be posted. Oh, you're so welcome. And every week we'll have a different topic. I go live every Wednesday at noon Pacific time, and every single week we'll just do a different topic and just deep dive on something that I hope you find interesting. And I'd love ideas, comments, questions of what you would find interesting. I was blown away at the response to the castor oil pack. I was just blown away. And the beautiful thing about castor oil, our live from last week, is that castor oil has been shown to not only increase your lymphocytes, but increase the quality of your bile, increasing your body's ability to bind heavy metals and take them out of your body. When we set up our foundation strong, our body has the ability to take care of itself. And it's really incredible when we give it a strong foundation, instead of chasing symptoms and saying, oh, I'm working on my thyroid. Oh, I'm working on my hormones. Oh, I'm working on this. Oh, I'm working on that. When we build a strong foundation, our body innately knows what to do. It's set up to heal when it has the tools that it needs. Friendly, okay, we have a friendly travel advisor from Arkansas. Welcome. So glad that you're here. So how to achieve cell saturation. That's what I want to talk about today, and I want to make sure that you have realistic expectations. So when you use magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally, over the last 20 years, I've been helping women activate their vitamin D levels to build that strong foundation. That's like my number one goal. And you start with magnesium. And when we do magnesium soaking to achieve cell saturation, there's a few things I've learned over the years. And I am so grateful to those of you that are sharing this live. That seriously is the kindest thing. Thank you so very much. And so that today I want to talk about bile, but first I want to set you up with how to use the magnesium soak to achieve cell saturation. So here's what we need to start with. You need something to soak in, and you have options. You might want to soak in your bathtub. Maybe you're a bath person. Tell me, are you guys bath people? Do you love a bath? Is that like self-care time, or do you detest getting in a bath? I would love to know. Oh, Shelly, did the sound quality change? We might be having an issue with streaming. For those that are on Facebook and YouTube, could you let me know, did the sound quality change of what I'm doing? Maybe there's an issue there on that mic that I'm set up there. And oh, love a bath, but no time. So you and I can't tell what your handle is. the time factor for a bath. So I like to do stacking of functions, and it is just as effective to soak your feet in magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally as it is to take a bath. I have collected data over 20 years of following women, asking them questions, seeing their blood work results, asking them what they did, and here's what we've learned. And we also did testing with thermal imaging. Okay. Oh, Heather, thank you so much. So on Facebook, Heather's saying that it's still good. Shelly, I don't know if you've got problems over there. Um, Julie, oh, let's talk about that. Julie just asked the question, what about IV magnesium? So IV magnesium, because they're pushing it in, it does carry some risk, and it's synthetic magnesium. Again, I'm going to sea brine. I want the cofactors of the sea brine. Now, if I was in, had some real issues, I would look into magnesium IV. Not everybody has that accessible around them, and it's a very expensive way to achieve cell saturation. And it does carry some risk. And so absolutely an option. I want it the easiest way that I can get there. And so that's soaking in magnesium soak. And you can take a bath or you can just soak your feet. This is the pan that I soak in. I soak when I'm teaching a class. I soak when I'm FaceTiming grandbabies. I soak when I'm doing watercolor. I soak all sorts of times. We want a minimum of 20 minutes to utilize and have your lymph uptake the magnesium. And at 45 minutes, you've utilized about 95, 98, depending, percent of the elemental magnesium. So your body has utilized, which means if you soaked and you use your quarter of a cup and some water and you soaked, somebody can't come behind you and soak and get the same benefits because your body, your lymph pumped up that magnesium through your body. And so here's what we found when we did thermal imaging. So I had all sorts of containers for women to soak in, just grabbing what I could. Some were crock pot inserts, some were stainless steel, some were Pyrex dishes, some were big plastic bowls. Because we were doing thermal imaging, I invited everyone into my shop, and we were going to just see what we could understand more about achieving cell saturation. And here's, what am I soaking? Magnesium, cell saturation. We're soaking in magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally. Why are we adding water to your pure recipe? So the reason that you're adding water is magnesium is hydrophilic, and you need enough to cover the bottom of your feet. And you can use straight magnesium, but your body can only absorb a quarter cup at a time. And so I not only want to do it the easy way, which growing up I got told I was lazy. I want to do it the easiest way. I also want it to be the most cost effective. And so yes, you could use and just pour in enough to make contact with the bottom of your feet, but it takes more magnesium to do that, and you're not getting more benefit. So if you add just a little bit of water, it does not dilute the magnesium. It increases, because magnesium is hydrophilic, it increases your body's ability to uptake it. Now, we found, it was so interesting, at least I thought it was, but I geek out over stuff like this. We found use distilled waters. Oh, okay. So first of all, we're not using powder, because when you go through the processing of turning sea brine magnesium chloride into magnesium flakes, you lose the ability to uptake the magnesium and move your body to red blood cell saturation. And remember, that's my goal, is cell saturation. And the other thing is, it takes, are you ready for this? 400 cups of flakes to equal the magnesium in a quarter cup of this. 400 cups of flakes. I don't know about you, but I have never taken a bath with 400 cups of flakes. And so that's why magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally is the way to go when your goal is cell saturation and activating your stored and active vitamin D. So back to this thermal imaging. Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I'm trying to catch as many questions as I can on the different things. Oh, Tanya asks if I only, and Tanya's joining us on Facebook, if I only soak for 20 minutes, should I save the magnesium to do another 20 minutes at a later time? So when we had our thermal imaging, we didn't test that. So I can give you some feedback of what clients have experienced, but I'm not giving you feedback on this one from personal experience with thermal imaging and seeing the physical difference as it moves through your lymph. So yes, you do get a little bit more benefit. In 20 minutes, though, you've utilized 80% of that elemental magnesium. And so for me personally, if I have 20 minutes to soak, I'm good with getting 80%. But absolutely, you will get a little bit more boost when you soak again for another 20 minutes. But for me, 80%, I'm good. In 45 minutes, you've done 90 to 95. Now, here's what we found in the thermal imaging. And that is the people who soaked in water, in plastic with water, you couldn't see it moving through their lymph. You could not see the magnesium moving. And we were like, what's going on? So we switched them over to Pyrex. Within 2 minutes, the same water that was in the plastic bowl was being pumped up in the Pyrex. And so I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's go back into the plastic, same water, same amount of magnesium, exact same, poured it back into plastic, it stopped. There is something about the molded plastic bowl that cuts the uptake of magnesium. Now, I have talked to scientists, I have talked to anybody with more understanding and knowledge than I have to understand that process of why did that stop? And there's some ideas, but no concrete as to why. It was 100% across the board when people soaked in plastic bowls, their uptake was incredibly slow and it took hours for the magnesium to move through their lymph. Now remember, I want things fast, easy, and efficient. And so just use a Pyrex or a crock pot insert. If you use stainless steel, and here's my pet peeve about stainless steel. If you use stainless steel, if it's powder coat aluminum, they call that stainless steel now. So they take an aluminum and they powder coat it with stainless steel. The magnesium will eventually etch the stainless steel. And I don't want to be uptaking aluminum. I don't want any part of that. When they did, my crash was facilitated by a bladder, when they pull your bladder back up, and I had an allergic reaction to the titanium. So I have what's called Melissa syndrome, and everything crashed on me. My heart stopped. I had seizures. I was in a wheelchair for 3.5 years. It was awful. So I don't want those heavy metals. So if you're using stainless steel, it's got to be an old school quality stainless steel. For example, I could go to PetSmart right now and I could buy for probably $9, $12, $15 a really thin, great big water dish for like a bigger dog, like a Great Dane, not the little teeny ones I use for my dog, but a bigger one. Super inexpensive, right? But that's that aluminum that's spray coated with powder coat. And eventually, as you soak in that, the magnesium will react with the powder coat and get to the aluminum. So yes, stainless steel is okay if it's that old school quality, heavy duty stainless steel. And then if I'm using stainless steel, which I don't anymore, I just use the Pyrex or my bathtub. I always make sure that I rinse it very well and that I wipe it dry. to help protect that stainless steel. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about with plastic, the next question that usually comes up is when you're soaking in magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally, and I have a coupon for you, you can use K20. So my name's Kristen. So my first initial starts with a K and then 20 for 20% off of magnesium. But that coupon is almost gone. Like I've put so many uses on it. And so I don't know how long it will be there, but eventually it will be gone. And the last couple of days it's been used a lot. So K20 will take 20% off of your magnesium order at Living the Good Life Naturally. So Emily, I think it's Emily, the shipping is expensive and because it's heavy. And so here's what we do. When you spend $99, I will pay for your shipping. If you're a small business owner, you know there is no such thing as free shipping. That's a marketing term that Amazon kicked in to get everybody to think they're getting shipping for free, but you actually pay for it in a higher price product and a yearly cost that they charge you. Free shipping is a joke. Either I pay it or you pay it. So at $99, I do pay for your shipping. And I recognize we do charge exactly what it cost us. So for example, if it's going to one place, it might be a couple dollars less versus going to another place. And so there's no add-on fees with that shipping, but at $99, I will pay for that and kick that in for you. Oh, what's the cost? Absolutely. This is $39, and this will give you, this is 32 ounces for an adult. You use 1/4 cup for an adult, 1/8 cup for children. And for an adult, this will give you 16 soaking sessions. Now, when you do it the first time, you want 2 of these bottles. That's why I've given you that coupon code K20 for 20% off, because I want you to be able to get 2 magnesiums, because then you've got enough to do the 30-day challenge. And there is on the website, you can get our texting challenge updates. So it will drop you a text that I've written out to you to just keep you motivated and keep you understanding more about magnesium. And maybe that helps. That was my goal. We've gotten feedback from people that helped them remember, oh my gosh, I forgot to soak. My text just came in. I've got to soak today. And then that way, if you have questions, you also have access. Myself or team checks that texting line daily, except for weekends. So that will give you 16. And our goal is a 30-day challenge and then get your magnesium red blood cell tested. Oh, okay. Boom. Oh my gosh. Who is that? Something HTO to the, reach out to me, HTO the something. And I would love to share a gift with you also. If you live in the United States, I will ship you a gift, because sometimes with all the questions, we go all sorts of places. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk about today. So thank you for your comment and asking that question, because I brought some different products. So if your goal is cell saturation, magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally. Now, here's where it gets a little confusing and takes some education. This is magnesium spray from Living the Good Life Naturally. It didn't break. Oh, but it did scare my little dog. It's okay, Louie. Oh, he might need to come over here. Hold on just a sec. I gotta go grab him. He's had a rough morning and that really scared him. So we'll do this holding a puppy. He hasn't felt good today. He's got some little issues. Okay, so this magnesium spray is the exact, it's not watered down. It's exactly the same as what's in here. And this is cheaper, right? So, oh gosh, I'm going to buy this. This cannot get you to cell saturation. Are you okay, buddy? Yeah. Oh, okay. So he made his appearance. Okay. Look at that cute little tongue. Okay. Let's see. You want to check out what happened to the pan that I dropped. So this and this are exactly the same thing. This one cannot get you to cell saturation. Spraying magnesium cannot get you to cell saturation. Let me repeat that. This is a hill I will die on. This will not get you to cell saturation. And here's what we do. Our expectations and our actions need to match. And if you're using this to get to cell saturation, you're going to be constantly frustrated. Oh, I know. Poor little Louie. He is like, oh, I've got dog hair. We are officially grooming him ourselves now. He got fired from the groomer. And so this morning we started our first learning curve on him. So he's going to look a little wonky for a little bit, but now I've got dog hair all over my lips. Okay, so this can't get you there. And in fact, this has the worst reviews on our website. Everything else is glowing reviews. Every once in a while, there's like someone that didn't understand the process or the education and they want their money back and kind of thing. There's a few of those. 99% are glowing reviews except for this one. And it's because they didn't understand. And so that's why I'm so grateful to be able to stream on so many different platforms today to be able to explain to you why. Most people are deficient in magnesium. And so when you take this and you spray it on your skin, I call it a tingle. Some people call it a burn. And they'll say, oh, that makes me itch. Oh, that burned. That's because you're deficient and your body is pulling it in so quickly, it's too fast. And then it causes the burning or tingling sensation. Over 20 years. Over 20 years, I've been getting that feedback when people start with this. And every single time, 100% of the time, when they soak, that goes away because they're increasing the levels of magnesium. Now, I use this. I have one at my desk. I have one in all my purses. I have one at my car, and I have one by my bedside. My husband's a double amputee and gets phantom, quote, it's not phantom pain, it's real pain, but he gets phantom pain and the stumps cramp at nighttime. He loves this stuff. He wouldn't go anywhere. He has somebody in his office where he teaches. He has it everywhere. But that's to help the cramp, relieve the cramp, and create a spot treatment. Cell saturation is where you make a difference in your biofunction. Cell saturation is where your gallbladder becomes decalcified and starts to really utilize that bile more efficiently. Cell saturation is where your pain receptors start to work more efficiently and open and close. Cell saturation is where pineal is decalcified and your insights become stronger, and sometimes even your dreams change. So this is not going to get you to cell saturation. This is going to help you maintain it once you're there, so it has its place in its proper form. But this isn't where you start. And I get it. You're like, oh, it's cheaper. Just do that one. This one ends up leaving people frustrated, which is feedback for me. Kristen, you're not doing a good enough job educating people and helping them understand the difference between the two products. Now, let's bring in another one. This is, well, I'll tell you now, if you get one bottle of these, I know you will buy more because this is amazing. It's our Magnesium Muscle Cream. It has permaculture olive oil in it. Now, my husband's a real permaculture guy. So basically, permaculture increases the nutrient availability of the plant and shuttles nutrients back and forth because it's not grown in a monoculture. And we were able to tap into a source of permaculture olive oil This stuff is amazing. It's got some menthol in it. It's really great pre and post workout. I like to use it on the back of my calves. I love this stuff. I love the little tingle. It's not too much because too much of that tingle is not good, but this is not going to get you to cell saturation either. And so this is a great byproduct to have. But this, the magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally, this is what gets you to cell saturation. And so if you go in expecting this or this, and I have a lotion that I created when my grandbabies were born, because when you're using creams and lotions, the emulsifying bridge that you use, the preservative that you use, determines how much magnesium penetrates your skin. And even the amount of preservative that you use can either block or increase the absorption of that magnesium. And so I have a lotion also. I'm actually out of it, but I do have a lotion. Now, in order of which product has the most magnesium, the lotion is at the bottom. Really good for babies, really good for people with very sensitive skin. And then we go the magnesium muscle cream. This has a little bit more. And then we go the spray. These three things, remember we're pretending there's a lotion right here. These three things cannot get you to cell saturation. It doesn't work. It does not work. And so if you're buying these thinking you're going to get all the benefits that I'm talking about with this, that's where frustration is created, because these just aren't going to get you there. Okay. Oh, what is the spray for? And also the lotion. I ordered both. Okay. So Emily, the lotion I use if my hands are cramping. I love to watercolor and I'm learning how to letter. And sometimes I get so focused on wanting to improve my skills that my hands get really tight. And so I love to use the lotion just to help relax my muscles. We have a lot of massage therapists who will use the lotion or the cream. They'll need a little bit more carrier oil to give a massage therapist the glide that they need so that they've got less friction when they do the massage. And so the lotion's really good for that. It's the magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally that really gets you to cell saturation. And so let's talk about bile function though. So we've talked a lot about, let's see if there's questions here. Okay, I think I've gotten all of them on Facebook and YouTube, and I'm not sure here. Oh, can saturation improve a gallbladder that is only 20% efficient? No stones, but barely contracts. So, remember, based in Carolina. Oh, Carolina is such a beautiful state. I could be based in California. Remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing, prescribing, or telling you what to do. I'm just sharing with you observations that I've had over the last 20 years of having the privilege of being up close as people go through their health journey. It could, and it might not. Is it the only layer? No. Is it a foundational layer? Yes. So other foods, in fact, we were talking about that this morning on our Core 7. Every month we do a Q&A call where they submit a question and we just talk about it and dive a little bit deeper. And this morning's it went long because they were just all interconnected with each other, and it just gave us all such good insights into staying motivated to take care of these incredible machines that we call bodies. And so fasting, everybody fasts. When you sleep through the night, you're fasting. And so you wake up having fasted. Breakfast, you're breaking the fast. And so extending that as appropriate to you. It's not appropriate for everybody. Some people have disordered eating. Some people have eating disorders. Not a good fit to put time restrictions on. Absolutely not a good fit. If it's appropriate for you, though, intermittent fasting or doing a 24-hour fast, if appropriate for you, and it's not mine to call that, if appropriate for you, that can increase the contraction. And then saturated fat also increases that contraction. Having enough magnesium, grapefruit juice will thin the bile so that when the muscle contracts, more comes out. Steamed greens are another one that will help contract that. So there are other layers that need to be added, and magnesium decalcifying that gallbladder is a part of getting back up on top to functionality of the gallbladder. Because if the gallbladder is calcified, when it's being squeezed like this, it's not getting the full benefit of that. And so as you achieve cell saturation, magnesium has been shown in studies that it decalcifies that gallbladder, and so it can do the full squeeze and get full effect. And that's how you get gallstones, is you get extra cholesterol in there, you get bilirubin in there, you get calcium in there because you're calcium dominant. And so making sure that you've got enough magnesium to offset your calcium dominance is so important. So yeah, that contraction is good. We want that gallbladder really contracting and squeezing out, because the gallbladder stores the bile. And then as the bile moves throughout the body, it picks up all the heavy metals. And then as it goes through the small intestine, it attaches the heavy metals to your bowels, and then you get rid of them. And that's how we get rid of heavy metals. And so once you've got magnesium cell saturation and you've got your foundation strong, you don't have to do all these heavy metal cleanses, because your body's set up to take care of that. And if you've been diagnosed with Hashis, or if you've been diagnosed with hypo, you have lost functionality in your bile, as much as 50 to 80% of bile functionality. And so we know that, so now you've got bile issues because of thyroid issues, and pretty soon you might have autoimmune issues because your body's not getting rid of the heavy metals. So it becomes the synergy of a catastrophe. So stepping in, creating a strong foundation, achieving cell saturation with magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally. Oh, okay. So if your gallbladder has already been removed, bile breaks down and emulsifies fat and pulls the nutrients. So vitamin D is, if you're having a hard time getting your vitamin D levels up, we know you can't have low vitamin D without low magnesium. Magnesium dropped first. Low vitamin D status is actually a magnesium status. And then if you're still not getting your vitamin D levels up, once you achieve cell saturation, we need to look at the quality of your bile, because that quality of your bile is determining how much emulsification is happening for your body to pull the vitamin D from your fat and the vitamin A. So those fat soluble vitamins need good bile function. So if you don't have a gallbladder, you're still producing bile, but it's just dripping, one little teeny drip at a time. And one of the things that can be so beneficial is adding bile back in supplemental form, because we want you to have the ability to break down and emulsify. Yeah, and so taking a supplement of bile is so important, and keeps your heavy metals, because once your gallbladder is gone, you can't store it. You cannot store it once they've taken it. And you need that big flush of bile to be able to emulsify the fats and to be able to attach the heavy metals. And if you're just getting little drips, that heavy metal isn't happening. And so that's why taking bile with your meals becomes so incredibly important, so that you're getting that bigger dose of bile to break things down and not building up with heavy metal toxicity and storing that in your body. In fact, a lot of people that struggle losing weight, and if they're wanting to lose weight, it's actually a bile issue and their body's protecting them. And so, they have been looking at it with frustration. but it's actually their body is set up to protect them and keep those toxins away from their body, and so it's storing it in the fat. And so looking at that bile function, grapefruit juice thins your bile. I have more energy the days that I take in grapefruit juice. So there's lots of different things that we can do for our bile. Okay, so I know, TMJ62. I think it's criminal that that is not explained. Well, first of all, understand where I'm coming from. I do not buy into the fact that we are born with body parts that can be taken and not something changes in our body. Like tonsils, when they take tonsils, that's the first filter for your pancreas. And we know that pancreas has to work harder once tonsils are taken. There's a system and a synergy that goes together. And so I think it is such a disservice to people who have had their gallbladder taken out that they don't understand that process. There are other foods that can thin, and at that point you might want to do TUDCA. And so you can check out the link in my Amazon shop, in my bio here, and it's got the bile salts and the bile that I really like. Yeah, told to quit eating spicy food. Well, then is what happens is a lot of people who have had their gallbladders taken out go to a low-fat diet, and then we get issues from that also, because fat is, our cellular walls are made up of fat. And so we need that fat for the brain of the cell. Okay, so any more questions on achieving cell saturation? And remember, if you're doing the 30-day challenge with the magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally, you'll want 2 of these. Please feel free to use the coupon code K20. There's a limited amount of those available, but there are some left, K20, and you'll need 2, and you want to soak every day for 30 days. You're going to miss a couple, and that's okay, but we need a minimum of 80% of your days you're soaking. To complete that 30-day challenge, though, we need you to make the commitment to get your red blood cell test, because that is going to give you feedback how often you need to soak. That is going to tell you. So for example, if you hit a 6.3, probably soaking 1 to 2 times a week is going to be good for you. If you hit a 4, you've got a ways to go. We've got to figure out. In fact, I tell people under a 5, they have a crack in their foundation. If you do the 30-day challenge, you don't get above a 5, we've got an issue with broken patterns. We've got an issue with a dysregulated nervous system. We have a B vitamin issue. We have a taurine amino acid deficiency maybe, or maybe even a boron deficiency. Oh, where can you be tested? Oh my goodness, Walk-In Labs is my favorite. I'm not affiliated with them. I've been using them for 20 years, and I really like Walk-In Labs. There for a while is what was happening is there was another lab that I was using, and all the magnesium tests came back, and we're talking hundreds of people that I was working with. They all came back exactly the same number. They quit testing and just like threw you back a number. And so I really, really, really like Walk-In Labs, the integrity over the 20 years that that company has shown in their testing and their numbers. And most people do not hit 6.3 or above. Most people don't. Every once in a while, some do. Our goal is to come in above 5. And remember, magnesium is hydrophilic. The more hydrated you are, the more efficient that magnesium will move through your body. And if you are insulin resistant, it's going to take you longer. Now, how do you know if you're insulin resistant? Simple. Grab a cholesterol panel, take your triglycerides and your HDL and divide those. And if your number is above 1, that shows insulin resistance. And some people are in the 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. The more insulin resistant you are, because that insulin that's just free floating is incredibly inflammatory, and the magnesium has a hard time getting to where it needs to go. And so if you will create some synergy between walking, just simple walking for 40 minutes while you're doing your 30-day challenge. We've shown in group after group after group that increased your ability to move your magnesium numbers. So then if you add hydration, if you're hydrated, you're walking and you're soaking in magnesium, boom, it's will get you to cell saturation. And so I would add, okay, so if you know, Emily, that you are insulin resistant, then we need to change your expectations. So for example, this is what can happen. So let's say Emily buys 2 bottles and she's like, okay, I'm doing this. This makes sense. Build a strong foundation, achieve cell saturation, stop chasing symptoms. I am going to do this. You do the 30-day challenge and you soak pretty much every day. You miss a couple. And then you get your testing done within 3 days of that magnesium challenge being over. Go get your testing done. And then she gets her test back and it's at 4. And she's really frustrated. She's like, didn't even work. It's not that it didn't work. Magnesium shines the light on what is broken. So for example, some of you, when you soak, your heels the cracks and the peeling will get horrific. That's an omega-3 fatty acid deficiency. Some people, it will highlight that you're not getting enough potassium in. And so it really shines the light on what needs to be worked on in your body if you understand that language. And that's what my Wednesday lives, Wednesday noon Pacific, noon-ish. I was, I think, 1 or 2 minutes late today, so noon-ish. This is kind of taken place of my old radio show. I did a radio show on several radio stations for years. And instead of going into the studio, I've just got the studio now in my home, and we'll stream it with video, and we'll just go live every Wednesday, noon Pacific time. And this week we really hit it hard on magnesium because I had so many questions from people on TikTok. I'm newer to TikTok, and I had so many questions coming in from my new TikTok friends. And so next week, I thought we could maybe do like honey garlic ferment, or we could do ginger oil, or we could do throat spray that I always have. I don't know, what would be interesting to you guys? Have you done honey garlic ferment? It's such an incredible tool to have in your house as we go into the winter season, because living seasonally. Oh, you're so welcome. That's so kind of you. Thank you. Oh, the ginger oil. Oh, never done honey garlic ferment. I don't know if I can reach mine. Mine's in the back. I have a legacy. Oh, how can you find me on YouTube? Living the Good Life Naturally. It was too long to do on TikTok. And so on TikTok, I'm that mag lady, but everywhere else, it's Living the Good Life Naturally. Oh, when you get a bad headache. Oh, I'm so glad that you asked this, Elizabeth, and I'm so sorry that you get headaches. That sounded like I was like, oh, you get headaches, and that's not how I meant it to come out. So when you typically, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not diagnosing, I'm sharing with you my observations and things that I've done to reclaim my health. Typically, when we see that, it's a hydration issue. So we need more water. We need more water. Oh, yes, love honey garlic ferment. And it's so important, the honey garlic ferment, that we understand that fermentation process and what to do to increase it, and to make sure we've got a legacy ferment. And so that would be fun to dive deeper on a honey garlic ferment and the different things that you can add to it. What does magnesium help with? The first thing that magnesium does is it activates your stored vitamin D to convert to active vitamin D. And that's the foundation of all health. If anything over this last 2.5 years has shown us, we know that a strong immune system is so important. And that strong immune system happens when we are at magnesium cell saturation, activating our stored and active vitamin D. Now, here's the deal. That doesn't mean that everything's good and everything's healthy in your body. That's just the first gate. That's the first gate that we've got to put into place. Probably through the night. I see that a lot with headaches at nighttime. And typically is what I see, and I'm not saying this is you, but this is what I see, Elizabeth. When people get those headaches at night, when they take the magnesium, they're busy during the day. And a lot of times women especially have a real ability to cut off and get done what needs to happen. And at nighttime, we're more relaxed and like, oh my gosh, my head is really killing me. And so try doing hydration, spot on hydration for 2 weeks. Keep your bowels moving. One bowel movement a day is constipation. So we want bare minimum of 2, preferably 3 or more that are happening throughout the day. And so between the hydration and getting your bowels moving, let me show you. Hold on. Mine's in by my bedside, so I can't pull it out. But we have a product on the website called My Miracle Tea, and that's my favorite herbal combination for liver to balance enzymes and for bowels to get moving. And so if you feel like you're completely hydrated consistently throughout the day and you're still getting those headaches, then the next thing we look at is bowels. What does the honey ferment do? So the garlic fermented honey is antiviral and antibacterial. If you know how you have that experience, I don't know if you've ever had this, I know I have, that you're like, oh, I feel like I'm getting sick. If you get on it right then, I have testimonial after testimonial after testimonial that honey garlic ferment just helps them feel like they stop it before it gets worse. But honey garlic ferment is not something that you make the day you need it. It needs to sit for a minimum of 6 weeks, but it continues to get better and better and better. I've got a legacy, anything over 5 years, and the ferment is called a legacy ferment. And I have a beautiful legacy ferment, a couple jars of legacy ferments of honey garlic. And so that might be a fun one. So every Wednesday, does garlic ferment help with candida overgrowth? Okay, so this is such a great question. And yes and no, it depends. Because candida is good in its proper amount. It's when we get too much candida growing that we have problems. And so there can be so many different reasons that candida is growing. And one of those is just poor gut biome. And so taking those things in. So let's really quick cover my favorite foods on gut biome, and then we'll call today good. So stewed apples. When you stew apples, you simmer them in a single layer. Don't cover the water. You don't want to boil them. You just want to stew them. Single layer, put a little bit of water, and you want the peel, keep the peel on, and it'll go shiny and kind of translucent. And at that point, that's when the pectin has been released, and that is so incredibly healing to your gut. That was one of the best foods that I ever did, and still do for my gut, that pectin and that apple. And eating a raw apple's got benefits, but eating that apple in its proper form and allowing it to release that pectin is such a powerful tool. Another one is kimchi. I know a lot of people talk sauerkraut, and I do sauerkraut. I've got a lemon dill one that I love, but kimchi has more benefits than sauerkraut. And so my husband and I don't make sauerkraut, he does, and sometimes we just buy it from the store. We have a great little store that has a great live culture that hasn't been processed, because when you process a fermented food, it kills everything. And so kimchi is another really powerful food. Sometimes you have to, if your stomach is really in bad shape and you just can't handle it, you have to do a cucumber kimchi. And that's a little bit easier on the stomach than the cabbage kimchi. Oh, absolutely. It's me, Bev. Yes, we could do a video on the apple pectin. That would be a really fun class to do and really powerful. Here's the thing. In fact, yeah, that's I will be doing one. And remember, every Wednesday noon Pacific time, I will stream. And I wasn't able to stream on Instagram today because I had a connection issue. I needed one different connector, but like right now I'm streaming on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. And so next time I'll have all the things that I need so that we're streaming on all 5 of those social media sites. So wherever it is that you're comfortable hanging out on social media, you can grab those. And then the ones we won't upload, I have nothing to do with that. Team is good to me. Lexi is the one that's in charge of uploading those videos, and we won't upload all of the lives, just when we get a lot of feedback. So on the castor oil one, we've had a lot of people ask. So when they ask, absolutely, we'll go ahead and upload that. So that castor oil live from a week or 2 weeks ago will actually be uploaded to YouTube. I don't think we can upload them on TikTok, and I don't think we can upload it on Facebook, but YouTube will allow us to upload. But the apple pectin one would be a great one to do just on foods that heal and seal the gut. But remember, this is where it's so important to understand the role of vitamin D, because when you get to magnesium cell saturation, you activate your stored vitamin D to active vitamin D, and you've got active and stored vitamin D in proper ratios. Vitamin D plugs your gut and seals your gut. And so for so many years, I focused on my gut biome, my gut biome, my gut biome when my vitamin D was low, and I was working against my own body. And so doing things in their proper order becomes really important, because when you do the 30-day magnesium challenge with the magnesium soak and you achieve cell saturation, sometimes that happens the first 30 days, sometimes it takes much longer, just depending on your body. And then we activate that stored and active vitamin D. That makes healing and sealing your gut easy, because you've put the natural things that your body needs in place to take care of itself, instead of doing all this extra work. And I like things easy, because I don't want to be one of those people that just spends all day doing healthy things. I do healthy things to do all day, living and doing those things that I'm passionate about. Forged in fire. Ferments feed all bacteria. So if there is an imbalance, wouldn't it cause a negative impact? So again, that depends. Some people who have a histamine, and that's why it's so important that we build strong filters to all the information that we see on social media. I had a daughter that did some international traveling and came back really, really like deathly ill. So I fed her all of my healthy foods that were the most powerful for me, and they were all high in histamine. And she wasn't breaking down histamine at that point. And so they were a problem for her. Histamine is an issue at the mast cell. And so for some people, they wouldn't be appropriate. For many people, they are appropriate, because if you've got overgrowth, you've got the bad bacteria that's overgrown the good bacteria, and we need to create better balance, because we need both. We need bad bacteria and we need good bacteria. But when you've got an overgrowth, you've got too much bad. But if it's gone on long enough, it might not be a good fit for you because of the histamine issue. And you've got to focus on healing that histamine issue before you throw on a lot of fermented foods. And so fermented foods are not the heal-all for everyone. They were for me, but a lot of people now are experiencing a histamine issue. 5 years ago, you hardly ever heard of a histamine issue, and now it's all the time. It's becoming more and more and more prevalent. And that's the reason why one of the reasons, because I wanted to give up before this live. I've like got cameras here and cameras here and cameras there, and dongles and cords and mics, and I was getting all confused, like, where am I even supposed to look? But that's what drove me to push through the hard for me of technology, is because a histamine issue is a sunshine and magnesium issue that's been there for a long time. And so it really drives me to help get that word out and get on social media and connect with other people that are focused on creating health and doing everything that they can to have a strong immune, so that we're not sick all the time, so that we feel good, so that when there's a virus or when there's something going around, that our body innately knows how to take care of us, but we have to have that strong foundation in place. Histamine issue, no, their body doesn't break down the histamine. So any food that you eat has histamine. Some have more than others. Fermented foods have mass amounts of histamine, mass amounts of histamine. And so if your body's not breaking down histamine, it's an issue at the mast cell. And you have to get that taken care of, or else all the other things that you do won't work as well, and it'll be like a salmon swimming upstream. It'll just be so hard. And so if you do have a histamine issue, then we've got to get that taken care of. Okay, taking magnesium chloride gives me anxiety. First of all, I wouldn't take magnesium chloride orally. I use the magnesium soak, which is, hold on, I've got to grab some water. Hold on just a sec. I taught class all morning. Thank you. My throat was dry. Okay, so let's see. Where was I? Oh, taking magnesium chloride gives you anxiety. So I use magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally. That's what I use. And I have seen it aggravate anxiety, but that's where we have to go back to that magnesium communication. In that we're getting feedback from our body. Do we understand it? If it's heightening your anxiety, almost, and oh gosh, let me draw this line again. I am not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing. I'm not prescribing. I'm just sharing with you the things that I've learned. So please, this is what's worked for me. Always run it through your filter, your board of directors, and those people that you have helping you create help. And so my experience, my observations is when magnesium, soaking in magnesium, I will not speak to oral. I don't even mess with oral synthetic magnesium. I do magnesium soak from Living the Good Life Naturally. And when that aggravates anxiety, it's always a potassium issue. And so a lot of people don't realize that we need potassium, 4,700 milligrams a day from our food. And if we're stressed, we need up to 5,400. And let me tell you, never once in 20 years, when I say to someone, hey, just track how much magnesium you're getting if they don't feel good, or not magnesium, sorry, let me pull that back, potassium, just track it. If they don't feel good, they're never getting even close to amount like 1,800, 2,100. And so when it heightens anxiety, it's because we've got a potassium issue. And so then we can recognize, hey, I need to really build up the whole food potassium that I'm getting and find ways to get enough whole foods with that good potassium in that your body needs, because magnesium and potassium are a huge component of sealing your gut to decrease that anxiety. Yeah. So hot tamale. I love that hot tamale. We go to this little, I just have to scroll for a minute. We go to this little restaurant. It's a great restaurant down by the university. And they have these little red potatoes that they soak. And then they ferment them, and they are so good, and they're hot and spicy. Oh, they're so good. So that reminded me when I saw hot tamale. So how many milligrams of magnesium should you be getting a day? I can't tell you that, because your burn rate is going to be different than my burn rate. I can say that your active and stored vitamin D will start to course correct when you achieve and maintain cell saturation at 6.3 or above. So my husband is just this total chill guy, like Zen should be his middle name. And he doesn't require as much magnesium as I do. I get little, like before I was getting on this live, I was like, I can't figure this out. Like, where am I supposed to talk? How can we get this set up? And I've got iPads on stacks of books, and a mic that didn't work, and a webcam that went out, and one webcam that went blue. And I was kind of getting frustrated. And in that moment, I lost magnesium, like pushed right out. And so your lifestyle choices, how you handle things, the food you eat, the medications you take. Surgery, anesthesia strips your magnesium. So after surgery, we need to restart and do a 30-day magnesium challenge. And so the milligrams at that point, it's about how much are you burning. So I look at it just a little bit differently. Okay, whoo, we just spent an hour and 20 minutes together. I did not mean to go that long. Every Wednesday, noon Pacific. I can't wait to see you next Wednesday. You know, magnesium will always come up. We're going to do like lots of different things. I think it'll be fun to do like some ginger oil classes, or maybe a honey garlic ferment, or I don't know, just lots of different things that we can do. And the castor oil pack one is being put up today, I believe. And I loved you being here with me today. Thank you so much. And for those of you that shared the video, so much heartfelt thanks to you, because that helps me spread the word about a process that I think is really important for people to understand as they make the decision of the best way for them to take magnesium. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Okay, so bye guys over on. Yeah, okay. Oh, it's so important, Jessica. So important. Jessica's watching over on YouTube. Adrenal fatigue. Yes, I did. And after the health crash, I did. And it's so important that you build a strong foundation and that you focus on voltage. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing. I'm not prescribing. Oh my gosh, it's so hot here. I live in Morro Bay, and we get a little kickback of summer, and I'm like melting. And then I've got the lights. Like, oh, I can't breathe. It's so important that you focus on voltage, and voltage is what nourishes adrenals, and that you recognize that your adrenals need support. And so finding an adaptogen that's a really good fit for you is really important. Really important. Okay, anyway, so good. I'm gonna turn off YouTube and Facebook. Thank you so much for being here. Loved it. Every Wednesday, noon Pacific.